Give me my microphone. Give me my fucking headphone. This is what happens when you do it live. Get my settings correct. Welcome to the Will Studios. I've been working exclusively on, where am I? On the comic book. Not really much else, just working and drawing. And I'm on this page. We're 2 weeks away from Baltimore Comic-Con. I got tickets. I'll be in Virginia for the week and a half. And we'll see who I meet there. But I want to have as much done as possible. I want to be able to show people what I'm working on. And have, like, just as many pages as I can completely finished with lettering. As well as I can do it. You know? Just boxes and letters. And I think, honestly, it might just be a matter of, like, adding flair to it or, you know, finding the right font. Whatever. I'm going back over pages that were previously kind of done, quote unquote, but I need to make it all match throughout, so what should her name be? I gotta think about, like, what would Hayden name his personal AI? He doesn't call her by name in the first issue, but she'll be popping up randomly. I wanted to use Gaia for the one that Silver is connected to, because that one sort of is the mothership of all the AI that is linked to this particular infrastructure. I don't need to get all technical. Am I gonna give her cool shoulder pad thingies? Yeah, I kind of like them. Kind of like hanging down. I've been thinking about if I should do any more reviews of, like, independent comic books. Because I did the one of Blood and the Sword, because I thought it would be fun to do, like, a review of an indie book. But then I ended up giving it, like, a bad review. Which was not my intention going in. But yeah, like, I don't get much interaction, so, like, being on Frog Tony's stream and having him read my chats, because I wasn't even super chatting, I was just popping up in the chat and going, like, the unicorn was lame. We needed something to get us interested in the fact that the king had lost his possession. We needed more. There wasn't enough on the plate, you know? And I could go on and on about it, because I could go on and on about it, just about anything. The review that I did was not, like, good. I rambled a lot. I need to be more coherent, so I'm thinking that I should just go ahead and I'll delete that one. And I'll really think about, because I was going to review the John's Longbox one, the Patriarch, because I paid $6 for the digital version of that. And I'll be honest, I already kind of know what I would say about the cover anyway, because I feel like his knees were too close together when he's punching. Well, what was it? Something about his posture in one or two of the promotional materials. I was like, all right. But then, should I judge artists? You know, lest I be judged. I should be judged, though. I expect people to judge me. We'll see what I get. We'll see what people say. People might just be like, this is incomprehensible. This story sucks. This is stupid. Just because they remember me saying some shit. And that's where I'm like, should I just leave them alone? You know? Do I really want to freaking deal with that? Because I'm gonna know all these people. They don't know me yet. And they don't know that they're gonna know me. But it will be impossible for us to avoid each other soon. Very soon. Because I'm gonna hashtag CG the comic book. It's gonna be good. Okay? It's gonna be friggin' awesome. And people are like, the Will Studios, that sounds familiar. Maybe they won't remember at first. Because who knows if they even bothered looking at my channel. If they know what I look like. I'm pretty distinctive. You really can't miss me. I got stopped on the way to the car today. The lady's like, you probably get this all the time, but I love your mustache. I'm like, thank you. It's growing on me. But they'll all come around. Everyone's gonna come around. Okay? It's a matter of time. And they'll understand that I was kind of right. He needs to, Rich needs to swing harder. And really try to get some interest for the end. Because if there was... okay. The only thing... So... What was his name? Van. The roguish human adventurer, main character, bumps into female warrior type who's working for the king, and she invites him on this adventure. And he has to deal with, some dipshit that he got into a fight with, right away on the road. Before he met her. And she offers him a bunch of money. And she was, vague about what they were getting. And then they get there and they dispatch with the fodder enemies. And then it's a unicorn that the king had lost. I'm like, alright. And I just feel like there should have been more to the story as far as either give me some world building, because there was none of that, or give me a reason to be interested in what the king is after and what he lost, maybe a scene or of the king, even if it's when she's talking about it or something, instead of just it being a shot of them in the tavern being like, should I take it, Mango? Yeah, we're in. Just, I don't know, man. I'm done. I wonder how he's taking this. Because he might just be like, yeah, it's a simple story. It's $5. I'm like, all right. You're not writing the next Game of Thrones or anything. You're not, you're not out here trying to change the world. Oddly enough, I feel like I am out here trying to, like, really make something special. And I see people like, there was this guy that I followed on Instagram, and this is way back when I was like just sort of getting started on this like dream, named Austin. And he had this idea for a comic book called The Promise Posse, right? And he kept posting pictures of Batman. He racked up 30,000 followers on Instagram. Just drawing Batman like every day, or like reposting the same picture of Batman that he had drawn. And it was like a Jim Lee style like Batman. And he was like, I have this dream to make a comic book. Like, and the way he was talking, were a lot of the same thoughts in my head, where it's like, dude, I too have a dream to make a comic book, And I thought he was like a kindred spirit, and I think he was, but he fell off, to my knowledge, because he, life turned sideways. I'm not gonna go into just what I know from Instagram, like, he went through a divorce and blah blah blah. They had a kid and everything. But I think about him sometimes. And I'm like, I have to carry on for people like that. Because I had the idea for a story before I started really working on my artwork. I'd been a doodler my whole life, and I thought the artwork was just gonna ooze out of me as soon as I got my hands on a tablet. Man, I'm hungry. I might have to take a break or something. Anywho. But like, I've been writing this story for like 8 years, passively. I mean, I took breaks, obviously. Cumulatively, probably like 3 or 4 years. Because I was writing a bunch of other stories too. And I was actually producing a different story before I had like an epiphany about this story. But it was like trying to actually produce a comic book and just figuring out all your weaknesses and figuring out, you gotta stay committed on self-improvement. Because I was nowhere near where I needed to be. And I put a lot of time into practicing, just drawing and I was gonna draw, like, the first thing I was gonna, like, actually draw, because I had the idea for what is now called Release. That was, like, the first idea that I really thought was awesome, just in concept. And that was before I really started writing it. And then I started drawing scenes. Or I started writing it, and then it was, I realized I didn't have enough there. Like, that I loved some of the bigger plot points that I had created in the greater overall like narrative. When it came to like writing the episode, everything I wrote was like boring, and I think about that when I'm reading like Blood and the Sword, and I guarantee you I'm probably gonna feel like that when I'm reading John's Longbox's book. I hope I don't. I'm gonna try, to just read it. But I had decided, because I didn't like, there was nothing hooking me into the story. Like, I'm like, okay, this makes sense, but what about this makes me want to read it? And I couldn't answer that question. And so then I read Blood and the Sword, and I feel like he should have asked himself that question. He should have, when he looked, like, just hire me as an editor. Hire me as an editor, and I'll fix everything. Okay? How about everybody in Comicsgate and Iron Age and everybody just get me on as an editor. Read the first issue of release. Understand who I am. And then just ask me for advice. And I'll help you out if I have time. Help me quit my job first. Ugh. But sometimes you gotta let ideas marinate. You gotta let ideas marinate and not rush them. Because this comic book would be goofy as hell if I forced it. And the boobs wouldn't look as nice. And everything would be lower quality. It's starting to get chilly already. I was working outside today in a t-shirt. Like, it'll get warmer. It'll get warmer around like 2 o'clock. Around like 11 o'clock. But yeah, I hope like Katie did and the rest of those people, Frog Tony. Frog Tony's book, I don't know. I'm probably not going to get it just because I know it's like a comedy book. Unless I see like a reason to get it, because once again, I don't want to just like I don't want to beat people up. That might be the wrong way to go about things. Like, I'm going to read John's book, but I'm not going to review it. Because why? But if he asked me for his opinion, or someone asked me for my opinion, I might give it. It might be like, it needed time to marinate. The idea needed time. Okay? What about Superkiller? Am I going to read Superkiller? That's a question. Vito, maybe I'm starting to come around to him. I never really found him funny. He was a guy, he always like just struck, he was like a guy that I knew. You know what I mean? He's like an amalgamation of like 3 dudes that I know. But he's like hustling with podcasting, so he's, you know, doing okay, I guess. Making money on Biggest Problem. It's like a dream. I had a podcast back in '08 called the Suckcast. That was fun. And I was hating on movies before it was really cool, to be honest. Or I guess it became cool during the prequels, I think, because they deserved it. And it's funny how often I see posts about how, like, Hayden Christensen didn't deserve the hate that he got for his role as Anakin. I'm like, we hated the lines that he was given. And he was the dude on the screen saying the lines. And so it's just like, nobody was saying no to George. I hate sand. Freaking sucks. I stand by the fact, and you know, I don't feel bad repeating this because I have 0 viewers. If one person watches this, they can hear it. Like, Star Wars, the prequels should have started with Anakin older and, you know, have Qui-Gon be significant in the Jedi Council or something, or in the plot of the story. Because the whole thing should have been about the Clone Wars. I know they want to touch on, like, how Anakin was found. Anakin is, like, the chosen one. But maybe we could handle that with flashbacks or with, like, a few lines of dialogue. Because spending 2.5 hours watching Anakin get rescued from slavery and suffering through Jar Jar Binks and that stupid, like, you know, the war that was not the Clone War, it was freaking the Tic Tac Robot War versus the lizard people. Like, that shit was lame. Some ideas are lame. Unless you can build up some excitement for that idea, it's lame. A unicorn in the middle of a barn is not going to be interesting unless something is done to build up either the presence of unicorns or what's going on here. Why am I interested in this? I'll stop talking about it. And I don't dislike Richard. You know what I mean? He seems like a swell dude. That's why I wasn't making a big deal about it at first, but you know. Random encounter with Frog Tony. And that's really all I have to talk about. I'm just a boring fucking dude right now who does not have a comic book to show anybody. Well, I'm starving. Oh, man. I don't want to get up, though. I really want to hit the ground running with Release. Did that do anything? Sometimes, and you can see it with these two faces, this little one is one that I brought in from a page where I kind of finalized, more or less finalized her look. I'll have to redo that page as well. I might take a break and come back. But you can see I already upgraded her headphone things. But where was I? Oh yeah, like the little one, the mouth turned out great. Like that angle, and just the way I did the squiggle. Is really nice to look at. And then this one over here, on the big one, looks terrible. I keep trying to do and you can see how terrible it looked even before that. It looks better now. I have to move on eventually from that upper lip. But I'll come back to it when I do the re-release, because I gotta take a break just so I stop yawning during the stream, because I'm gonna put out these first pages, show them to as many people, keep working on pages. Once I get to 27 pages, once I get to that 1/3 of an issue, that's when I can really start pushing more content. Just shoving more content into the pipeline, into the algorithm, drawing tutorials, live streams, reviews, but I'll review mainstream shit, so I'm not picking on anybody who's out there just trying to get $7,000 for their comic book. When I first started this, I had this idea that I was going to make like $1 million, and I still could. I still could make like $3 or $4 million. But I also could make like $2,000. I also could make like $500 if nobody decides to fucking buy it. But that's impossible. Once they read the first 27 pages for free, I think they're gonna want to see a finished first issue. And if that's not good enough, then I will make a different idea happen. Because I got plenty of ideas. I got plenty of ideas, and I have my own fantasy story that has a lot more hooks in it now. Like, you know, I got a lot of ideas that I got marinating. Like I said, ideas need time to marinate. So, I got like 5 or 6 ideas that are just marinating, that are in different stages of marinating. And Dark Steel, which is what I was calling it at the time, I might come up with a different title for it. A new theme. Because I create, sometimes you make a scene that you're like, this is what we need. This is the character that's going to help people get into this world, get into the story, raise the stakes, because we need emotional investment. And I'm gonna come in and make an impact. You know what I mean? Everyone will know me. And they're gonna feel good when I'm around. When they see the mustache, I think they're gonna know everything's gonna be okay. I need to clean up a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go eat and take a nap, and I'll probably come back and keep